In this lesson, we're going to look at special cases of lighting setup using artificial light, such as ceiling lamps, wall lamps, and the like. We'll break down how to set them up in Corona and how to avoid common mistakes in the process. We're going to use the same old scene. I've added some commonly used 3D light models. And let's start with a ceiling lamp. So first, I'd like to draw your attention to this. Before setting up artificial lighting, you first need to set up the main fill light from the window. Once the fill light is in place, you can proceed to set up artificial lights, ceiling lamps, wall lamps, point lights, what have you. So make sure to keep that in mind. So setting up daylighting is a fundamental issue. If it's dusk, you first need to set up the so-called blue hour light coming from the window. It will have a cold blue shade, generally. And then you can continue with other types of lights. Okay, so let's start with the ceiling lamp. Here's what you need to know about ceiling lamps. Ceiling lamps often come with multiple bulbs to illuminate the room. The problem is, using a lamp with multiple lights will create plenty of noise and increase render time quite a bit. So that's why we'll have to replace them with fake lights. This means we'll have to split our ceiling light setup into two parts. First, we need to set up lights inside the lamp, and then we need to set up light coming from the lamp to illuminate the interior. This is the lamp that we're going to use. So let's get down to work. We go to the Lights tab, select Corona Light. It's going to be a sphere. And suppose our lamp has 5 lights. Each light has a small radius, like in real life. And now let's arrange them inside the lamp. To be honest, I don't quite know where exactly to put them. So I'm just going to do that intuitively. We're creating instance copies and arranging the lights inside the lamp. Most 3D lamp models already come with bulb models inside. You need to delete them and replace them with light sources. It doesn't affect the render in any significant way, but that will surely speed up your render. Okay, so we're arranging the lights, and let's disable the isolate selection mode to be able to see the light in the preview. So here, our ceiling lamp is lit up. There's a tool that allows you to edit objects without shifting the camera. It's called 2D pan zoom mode. We click this plus icon and add 2D pan zoom mode. And now you can zoom in on any object that you want to edit. Okay, so we've lit up the ceiling. Now let's set up our lights. So we'll disable all the visibility options to make sure the lights are invisible. And next we need to set up the temperature. Switch to kelvins and set the temperature to 3500 kelvins. It's going to be warm. Okay, so what do we have? The lights that we've set up illuminate the lamp to speed up our render, especially if you're dealing with a night render. We need to do the following. We select our lamp, and let's call it C1, for example. And then we select a light, click this plus icon against the exclude option, and add the lamp. See, the lamp is no longer illuminated. We do a right mouse click in a random place in the viewport window so as not to exclude other objects by accident, and switch to include and click OK. And now the lights illuminate the lamp. Pay attention to this. Since we have a day render, the light from the ceiling lamp should not be too bright. So I'm going to set its intensity to 400 The lamp is too highlighted, it's daytime and it doesn't look realistic, so let's bring it down to 30. Now it's okay. Ideally, you should rely on a reference. And also remember that during the daytime, artificial lights emit dim light. They're accent lights. And if a client asks you to turn on the lights, you should go with a brightness level that looks something like this. Now let's suppose we have a night render. And we need the whole scene to be illuminated, including the walls, the ceiling, and the floor. So we need to create another fake sphere light the size of our lamp. And of course, this fake light probably won't look too realistic and compelling, but still, it will speed up your render big time. So we create a sphere light and we'll place it where the lamp is. The radius of the sphere depends on how bright and soft we want its light to be. Then we need to make sure that all these visibility options are disabled. The temperature stays the same. The light is too bright, so let's turn it down. This looks fine. The ceiling is slightly illuminated. Next, we're going to use include-exclude option, but in the reverse order. We add the ceiling lamp to exclude. See, it's on the exclude list now. The lamp has been excluded from this light, while the rest of the objects remain included. Okay, so this is how we've set up light from the ceiling lamp. It can be a glass lamp with plenty of reflective elements, or it can be a lamp with an intricate design. We've used a fake light to imitate the fill light from the lamp in a night render. So this light illuminates the ceiling, the walls, and the floor. Alright, now let's set up cornice lighting and niche lighting. It's all very simple here in Corona. So we need a rectangle Corona light, and I wouldn't recommend using self-illumination materials like Corona light material because you'll end up with plenty of noise in your scene. Okay, so let's see how it's done. For the cornice, we'll create a Corona light of a rectangle shape. We'll give it a random size and hide it behind the cornice. We can already see some light, but it will look even better once we've set it up more correctly. To get more light, we simply need to turn it upwards. See, we've created a soft highlight on the ceiling. The brightness and the temperature depend on what effect you want to achieve. You can also set up directionality to achieve a harder, more pointed light. Or you can choose to rotate your light at about 45 degrees to make it more directed onto the ceiling. So you can try out different setup solutions until you achieve the effect that you're looking for. To create a narrow beam of light, you need to change the height to 1 or 2 centimeters. In that case, the brightness will go down, but the light will become harder. By adjusting the size of your light and the directionality parameter, we've achieved a rather hard light. Anyway, you can set up your cornice lighting as you choose, but be sure to direct it onto the ceiling and the walls to avoid too much re-reflected light from behind the cornice. This way you'll have much less noise in your scene. Now let's set up a wall lamp. So our task is to create a realistic looking wall lamp. For example, if the lamp here has a light source inside, we need to add it too. But there are some things that can slow down your render, and I'm going to show you a few clever tricks to speed up your render and reduce noise in your scene. if you're using 3D lamp model from a library, make sure it doesn't have a light inside of it. Otherwise, you might spend forever wondering what is creating all those highlights and all of that noise. When it comes to wall lamps and ceiling lamps, they often come with lights inside of them. If this is the case, you need to delete those lights and replace them with fake lights. This wall lamp, for example, already has a light inside of it, so I'll delete that. And here's another thing. If your lamp has a bulb model inside, it makes sense to delete it altogether. It doesn't matter much if it's there or not, but at the same time, it can block out the light and create certain difficulties during lighting setup. So go ahead and delete the bulb. Okay, let's get down to work. And we'll create Corona light, a sphere. Already has some settings in place. So we put the sphere inside the lamp. The radius must be identical to the radius of a real live bulb. Okay, so we've lit up the lamp. The light shines upwards and downwards. And by changing the radius, we can adjust the softness of light. Let's try 0.5 centimeters. But first, it makes sense to switch to lumens. Otherwise, the light will get dimmer. Okay, set the radius to 0.5 and get a hard light that looks like this. Now let's try a different radius. We can increase it to 3 to achieve a softer light. Pretty easy, right? As you can see, we have too much noise here. Plus, the material of the lamp shade is not translucent. And in some cases, we need it to be translucent. So this means we'll have to set up the material of the lampshade. Let's change its translucency. We'll set translucency fraction to 0.1. See, the material has turned slightly translucent. And if you're not happy with the result, you can go up to 0.5. The translucency has increased and the lampshade looks brighter now. To make the lampshade more translucent and reduce noise, we can use Corona Ray Switch MTL. So we drag it to the material editor window, and then we link Corona Physical MTL to direct override, reflect override, and refract override. As for global illumination, we're going to link it to a different material. And don't forget to assign Ray Switch MTL to the lampshade. Alright, that's done. As you can see, the translucency is currently very high because the global illumination slot is empty. We'll drag another Corona Physical MTL to material editor, or you can simply copy the Corona Physical MTL that we already have here. Okay, so we'll link it to global illumination. The lampshade has turned non-translucent because we've linked a non-translucent material to global illumination. And our task is to make it translucent. So to do that, we need to pick any black and white map and link it to the opacity color slot. So let's pick this output map and link it to opacity. And next, we decrease output amount to 0.5. See, translucency has improved. If we bring output amount to 0, the translucency will reach its maximum, while the noise level will drop. To make the scene even more realistic, we need to reduce the brightness of our wall lamp. After all, we have daylighting here, and a wall lamp shouldn't be shining so bright during the day. Let's make it 3000 lumens. Also, let's increase the temperature to 3000 kelvins to achieve a warmer light. Looks pretty good. By using fake Corona Ray Switch material, we've achieved a beautiful effect of this kind. And the last thing on our list is point lights. So we're going to use two types of lights here, but technically it's one and the same light. It's a disc that shines downwards and illuminates the walls, the furniture, and everything else. So if you're not happy with the light shadows pattern created by this light, you can use an IES file for a more compelling effect. Long ago, I put together an entire library of IES files. You'll find them among the additional materials to this course, and you're welcome to pick any IES file and use it in your render. So let's see how it works. First, we need to create a light, and we're going to use Corona disk. So we click Corona light and select the disk shape. Whether or not to enable targeted option depends on whether or not you're going to direct your light at objects. This light model is a rotational one, but in this scene it will be shining downwards. Okay, so we create Corona disk and place it below the 3D lamp model. And make sure your light and your lamp model don't overlap, because this will create noise. Then we increase brightness. Let's make it 300. Multiplier units, just to be sure. So we already have light, and you can adjust directionality in between 0 and 0.5. It's currently at 0.5, and the light shines downwards on the floor. Let's move it a bit further away. There we go. So usually, it's enough to illuminate a room or a bathroom, but if you want to create a more interesting light shadow pattern, you should go for an IES file. So let's pick T11, for instance. There we go. Now, keep in mind that you can't adjust the beam of light when using IES, which is a bit unfortunate. You can make it narrower or wider, and you'll have to find another IES file with the right light that works for you for that particular case. All right, so next we need to decrease the brightness. Our light is too bright for a day render. Let's make it 200 or even 100. If you want a more pronounced light shadow pattern on a wall, you can enable target and direct the light onto the wall. And that will make the pattern become clear. The closer the ES light to the wall, the clearer the pattern. This looks good. So it's not rocket science, is it? Now I'd like to draw your attention to one thing. To imitate light inside the lamp model, we need to add a spherical Corona light and exclude all objects from it, except for the lamp model itself. But I would rather not add it because the light looks pretty good as it is. If anything, you can add the glare effect in Photoshop. But I prefer not to use the bloom and glare effects in Corona, because you can edit it later. As you can see, the wall lamp lighting is set up more or less the same way as ceiling lighting. Okay, so summing up, setting up a light or lights inside a 3D lamp model and setting up interior lighting are slightly different things. So we use fake lights and materials for that. So make sure to keep that in mind and don't try to illuminate the entire interior with small lights, especially in a ceiling lamp, because otherwise you'll end up with huge amounts of noise. So you can always use IES files for point lights if necessary. That was it for this lesson. We'll see you in the next one.